Ssemuju Nganda, government ya General Museveni wetuuse egudde tekyalina lugendo gyeraga kuba tekyalina bagiwa ssente, tekyalina gyewola, tekyalina wejja n'akamu, kyesigaza kimu kupiika bannayuganda musolo muyitirivu. Kati nno kino ekyokupiika bannayuganda omusolo kyongedde okusitula bannayuganda obwongo bwabwe okubalabisa nti kati be bannannyini ensi eno era bannannyini buyinza era balina okusituka balwanirire eddembe lyabwe. Ate awo General Museveni tagenda kwagalawo kubanga bannayuganda people power egenda kusituka omulundi gumu emuggyemu entebe mwabadde kyangira mweyalira ebitafuttafu ate akyasobola kubifuna kubanga baddayo na ssente mpitirivu nnyo buli lunaku. Kale tutandise bwe tuti.
Chairperson of Member Committee on Finance, but I didn't know they had created for him.
Not creation. Previously, our head was Professor SURVE, so we shifted that the current head of that.
Agatha, you're also welcome to Ghana. Great to have you. You are seated in a mighty chair, one of those chairs. So you may have to wear your yellow hat.
I have never had the yellow hat, so
I'm saying you may have to wear your hat.
I think always when you don't have to.
Oh, today is the burial.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. You see, for me, yes, the starting point should have been for government. I don't trust statistics. Is to know how many people are involved in trade. And then, because you are in a country where people have no jobs at all. I remember one of those days when I had gone downtown, many of university graduates living in these universities are also operating downtown because there are no jobs elsewhere. So the moment you know that trade is employing this percentage of the population, then you deal with it from that context. Because sometimes those arcades are empty. People start shops and then they are closed the following day. Part of the reason is taxation. Of recent is also the number of buyers that are available. There was a time when I think South Sudan was buying most of their essentials from downtown here. A bit of Congo, Burundi. I think Rwanda no longer comes here, but there was also a time when they are all buying from us here.
The president there deliberately decided that the trading with the Uganda should be minimized. So he's decided.
I have mentioned many countries. I said the president, so I don't know which one.
The one of Rwanda.
Yes. So trade employed a sizable number of people. So dealing with it, as I said, if you're government, you need to deal with it from that context, and then you can go to taxation. Because apart from maybe petroleum products, a bulk of the taxes is also coming from traders. So every tax that you're going to introduce, even when you want a import substitution, you need to deal with that factor. The president argued that if you're going to start textiles here, that actually these guys are donating jobs to China and Dubai. But what do you need to start with? I remember one time I had an argument with border borders, the way they conduct themselves in town. And the friend said, no, you just need to ban them. So no, you don't ban them. If you're going to bring an alternative public transport, then you employ them, but you start with it. You don't start with a ban. And then you create a crisis. So this crisis that we are in, many of the people are involved in trade. You are rendering them jobless, either through taxation, other expenses. And if you have nearly now 500,000 girls who are in the Middle East, who are working as maids, you need to also think about rendering others jobless. So having said that, Oscar, let's look at where this problem started. The problem actually did not start with a particular tax. The problem that caused the strike was a problem of enforcement, because URA said the old system many people use it to avoid, and therefore they say now to be able to get everybody to pay tax.
The numerator was supposed to have arrived at 10. He arrives at 10:30.
So-
Don't do my work.
So URA wants to collect taxes, and the best way they thought they could was to go big, to get everybody registered. The immediate reaction, mainly of traders, was because URA deployed the enforcement officers, and they started checking the delivery of goods. So either you buy or you are transferring from one store to another, or from a factory to a shop, or from a shop to a shop. And they started inconveniencing the business community. Because I was told by traders, I didn't experience it myself, that they will stop someone carrying a box and they ask him where is the freeze. That's why at the beginning people thought it was also maybe a tax. But all they did was a receipt. Are you on this receipting system? So the traders said, no, they are chasing out people from shops. But also, these boxes that you see that are moving in Kampala, sometimes they are moving from store to a shop. Sometimes they are moving from my shop on this street to another shop here. But you can't keep asking every box, where is the receipt, where is this sort of a receipt.
Well, there's money to be made out of it, because if you have a wrong receipt, I think the fine is 6 million, and that has been determined by Parliament.
That's by the per entry. So one box, one box of 20,000, you can be charged 6 million. So that's where I was starting.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Let's go to
it's very difficult. It's very difficult for government not to enforce that. It's going to be very difficult. But the judge said, no, you do so after a lot of sensitization. Government said, no, we started this long ago. And then for me, because the traders are not the ones who are paying taxes. Taxes are paid by consumers. I think the genuine complaint is that the economy has slowed down. So there are not as many buyers as there used to be. So if you had 10 and today you have 1, maybe you will think that these taxes is the reason. And then Oscar Friday, the second thing was the garments. That we are going to charge, yes, I think $3 per kilogram. The president said he wants to protect the local industries. I don't know those industries myself. I don't know them.
In some ways, he says he's agreed that this should be looked into as well. But Abdul, taxes are going to be paid. There's no escape from it.
It's not even about escape, it's common sense. Taxes already paid, there's no doubt. There's no country which doesn't pay tax, and there's no country which will work without paying tax. To me, the most fundamental question which the traders raise actually is about how do we, as collectors of their tax, utilize it. That to me, that's very, very fundamental. You see, if we go and collect tax for purposes of service delivery and there is no service delivery, then it is really fundamental. And that's not a question for only traders, but for the entire country. All citizens in this country have got a right to ask the taxes we pay, is it being utilized for the purpose for which it has been paid? I think that's fundamental. That debate can always go on and on and on. It should be raised and so on. Where do we invest the sort of monies we collect from everybody? Do we have infrastructure? Do we have health services?
The cost of trade.
Yeah, those sort of things. That is very legitimate, and that's an issue which I think the traders are right to raise it, both with the president, with the parliament, and even in public discussion about it. However, I differ completely with people who thought this was going to be a useful meeting. I don't know where that idea ever got into their mind.
They've scheduled another one.
Come on, they're just wasting public time. Totally wasting. You see, How do you manage public affairs? These traders have got leaders. These leaders should sit with the leaders of this country, policymakers, and the president, and discuss things in detail. Just don't call thousands of people and say you are in a meeting to discuss what? What you saw, and I watched that video footage, it was just emotional, blackmailing each other. We are going to start even, there's one, Oscar, who amazed me, said, Mr. President, hundreds of these traders who have come, some are your supporters, but there are many who don't support you, and they all clapped. They all clapped, and I looked at them and said, so why have they brought the man there if they don't support him and they want to discuss with him? So,
but he's the president, they don't have to support him.
No, they don't, but do you have to tell you, we don't support you there, so let's discuss. I mean, you don't have to support a president, but if there is an issue, don't start with that, because you put somebody off, or you get it? Because you say, okay, we are your enemies, so you discuss with us. You don't blackmail people at that level. So to me, I thought the leaders should have sat with the president. First of all, you got some concessions, I think, in your first meeting. You should have reported to your body, the traders. They should have given you further instructions, sought another meeting, went and discussed with them. But don't call a political rally and you call it a meeting. It doesn't work that way. We are even going to start feeding candidates against you. So, okay, did you expect him to reply to those? Okay, absolutely not. So to me, if I were to advise the traders, there are issues which are legitimate. For example, tax administration. How do you handle it? Procedural issues, how do you handle it? There are substantive ones, like I saw the president said, okay, this issue of penalties, I direct, don't enforce it, which I thought was also unfortunate because it is a matter of law. I think he would have said, okay, let me engage with the lawmakers and we find a review of that particular provision within the law. Because it is logical, it is legal. But you can't say there is a law, say, please don't implement that law. It doesn't make sense because it is like now you are going to somebody and you are requesting him to be magnanimous. And I said, public affairs should be run differently. Yeah. Because there is a law, and if the president is convinced, he said, okay, I'll take up this matter with the parliament, and they change the law. They repeal or they amend it. You get, and that will be okay, you achieve for what you. But these general meetings of yours, I think it's for public relations, and it ended up like I thought it would be anyway.
I would say.
I think, first of all, the president in this country, Honorable Audi, is zero if you didn't know.
He's zero?
Yeah, he doesn't care about the law. And I am sure many people know that he has never cared about it. He thinks he's the Alpha and Omega who resolves everything. The rally that Honorable Audi is speaking about in Colorado is not a fault of the traders, it's a fault of still the president. Because there should be structures to these things. I remember in 2011, that's when I started really to see, maybe that's when I started paying attention to these things when I became a journalist.
You know that much. So, a bit louder.
So yeah, there were many problems in 2011. Work, teachers, strikes, everything. There was meetings with President Museveni every day. You told the taxes, and you said that there are other people, there are other structures, there are other institutions. Why don't they work? So that's why the president meets with.
Now we have a delivery unit as well.
Then, and that was
Is that a compliment?
Prime Ministerial Delivery Unit.
And the structure of Honorable Ssemuju Nganda said they had to say, Honorable Ssemuju was with us in Parliament. I didn't know they had formed for him something. That's what they are. They form for Honorable Ssemuju, not for service delivery. The traders, I think some of the issues are not really legitimate. if there's nothing wrong with it, they are not adding them a tax, really. I think that the biggest problem is a government that is not accountable to its people. When you listen to the president, that I think I found him contemptuous of people's issues. I would have worked out, I think, as well if it were me. And if you have people that are raising issues, it will go back to Parliament and how these laws are passed. Were people consulted enough? Were they given enough time over issues they raise? That, we are just, it's a semi-informal sector or informal. We have not gone to school to acquire the skills that this system requires. Can you give us time to get everything that is required? I agree that would also be problematic. You can never work on the timelines of people they would want to always put it off. But I think there's a better way to resolve these issues than that. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I think the point really is that we should allow systems to work, legally mandated institutions to work, the ministers and the Robert Semunyas here to work, not just to be created for. The president can't be the only one solving everything. When we have complained about the cost of public administration, when we have public delivery units coming up, investors protection units coming up. But the other is that we have a population that has lost confidence in its government, that everything is going to be seen with that suspicion. And Honorable talked about service delivery. We are paying taxes and we have no roads to drive on in this country. So people are going to really be suspicious if some of the issues are not addressed. I think the issue of taxes in this country has been an issue for a long time. There's a cartoon, I don't know by which cartoonist that we have here, either Ogon or Spire, of a cow being milked that is shrinking. So we feel that we give more as citizens of this country than what we get from the government that we pay taxes to. All those are issues that I think the government needs to take seriously and know that there's no service delivery, there's nothing we are seeing that our taxes is doing, and everything is going to be seen in that light. People have spoken of the tax base in this country. Tax to GDP ratio should be still below 14 in this country. We still have a budget that 75% is always externally funded, and we cannot fund even half of it. The issues are there. You have heard people talk about taxing cows, right? We keep thinking that the tax base is narrow. We keep thinking that citizens of this country are not prioritized. That, for example, when you talk about investors, which investors do we prioritize as a country? Which investors get tax holidays and tax exemptions? How have the local investors, for the president to say that, to blame the traders for Uganda becoming a supermarket economy, I find that unfair. That you have presided over a country, an economy for 40 years, and you think that the Chikubo traders are the ones to blame for us importing everything and trading in imported goods. How have you supported manufacturers in this country to do that? There are issues of costs of production in this country. There are issues of ease of doing business in this country that are there. Can we start with that? And then when we are demanding more of traders, there's something to show for that. That after 40 years, we have supported these traders. We have had bailouts and whatever. But then we've seen big businesses in this country that have employed many, that have contributed a lot to the economy, like the beans cars, the Ssemuju. No one cares about them when they are going under. I think the problems really originate from that sort of mutual suspicion. I don't know if there's suspicion also from the side of government, but from the side of citizens as to how they are benefiting from the taxes they pay. These issues have been there for a while.
Okay. Mr. Robert Ssemuju Nganda. head of Prime Minister's SURVE unit.
Thank you. As I said, not said before, but I would have wished to reply to some of the concerns, but at the bottom of everything, we see concerns. The government has concerns, the traders have concerns, the public has concerns, everybody wants money, and everybody knows that.
Let me first welcome Dr. Chris Mkiza.
Yes, the
official chief executive to
I have not been
welcoming him. He's the ED, your boss, and National Census Commissioner. Most welcome to Katoga.
Thank you.
Go on, Robert.
Yes. So, and everybody is complaining, including our global economy. The US is complaining about China dumping. Europe is complaining about China dumping, the excessive capacity that China has. Africa, and in particular also Uganda is also complaining about dumping.
Australia had a fight with China. China said,
Are you sure you can complain about that?
Yeah. The president said, the president said so. We shouldn't become a supermarket for China. So in the short term, we have to deal with the traders. And when they complain, we are supposed to listen. But also, I would say, I used to deal with Casita. Okay, the traders through Casita. When I was in Parliament, when I was made a session here that I was chairman in the Finance Committee for some good years.
Where?
I will. But I think the problem I see, because whenever they talk about taxes, I'm inclined to immediately think about what I used to deal with it. So it started as everybody knows, started with the IFRIS, that electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing system. And because there are now many leaders, it's no longer Casino. It is now also competitive. I think every arcade or 2 or 3 have leaders.
Yeah,
so
we've had some associations being sponsored by the state to start.
You see, now others are being sponsored by the state. So now I thought now they have failed to handle their matter. Because as Parliament, when bills are brought for Ministry of Finance, they call traders. They debate these issues. They see where there are wins for government and there are wins for traders. And this matter the system must have been debated and legislated about. And if it were not legislated, then they would be in court. And nobody, maybe they would say stop it or something. But because it is law, government must implement it. URA must implement it. But I think they were high-handed in their administration because there was not a single announcement that this program is going to start. The moment they finished with the manufacturers, they thought it would be easy, just get it down to the lower levels. And in their own thinking, I think they also used the enforcement, including the army. And you know how people react when they see the army. The emotions, of course, already the public is annoyed with bad roads in the city. So there are many agitations. So I think the best way they should have handled it is, as we say, start with the technical people, appeal to higher authorities within, because as they were addressing to the minister, some interview on radio somewhere, I had the minister of finance was saying, I've never seen these people. And they were in the middle of the strike. I already heard about it. On radio, I don't know. I'm the alpha and omega of these issues. Where are they? I and the president. So it's as if there were a disconnect between the MDAs and the traders. So, and once they shifted from IFRIS to many other issues, to even a public rally, I think you will see they were going in the wrong direction. And I think also it was because of the accusation. The accusations that the public assigns to the leaders, that when leaders go to State House. They are given money and they are compromised. So the leaders this time suggested, I heard from them, it's the leaders of the trade organization, associations that suggested that we need all the traders to engage with the president.
So
and you could
why are they leaders then?
Because I don't know why they assign their responsibility to the general. Because they were met, they talked, even the president issued a letter, and those ideas were not going to be changed overnight by the president. Because he elaborated his meeting and what he could give and what he could not give in a public gazette. So I think we need to engage more. We know there are concerns, but those that you can take away. Just like Honorable Katu said, if the president is agreeable to an issue, then he must take it to where it is processed, which is Parliament. But the way they were talking, they were even insulting the leaders, they were insulting the MPs, they were insulting everybody. That was not an engagement. That was a show of force by everybody. And they couldn't win.
What happens to the next?
I think what we should advise and do, if you are complaining about VAT, insist on VAT and give references to other countries and how they are processing VAT. Because that VAT if it is IFRIS,
give advice on how it
give advice. If it is raised the threshold, put it. It's okay. If we cannot say billion, let's start with the 500 million, maybe 400 million. The threshold for people who the real VAT.
I.e. look for a win-win.
Yes, look for a win-win as you progressively engage with them.
Can I say he's also reasoning?
And by the way, I did not start the delivery unit. This is Professor Sema who started the unit.
Yeah.
He worked his 10 years. And I was not fit to fill the shoes. No, it wasn't started for me. It's a government, and it is many countries.
Chairman of finance and
It is very
is
good.
the issue.
Yes.
Only to add that my experience in Parliament is when these tax bills come,
Yes.
there are not many traders who get interested in it.
Yes.
Because these tax bills come every year and they don't get interested in it.
Yeah.
You even put out adverts and so on when the committee is processing.
Yeah. They only hear when
It is when it has certainly been implemented.
Yeah.
That's when the hell breaks rules. So the time of engagement should actually be earlier, and I encourage the traders now that every beginning of a financial year, there is a tax regime coming, and you need to get so much interested and engage the relevant committee of parliament.
Dr. Chris Mkiza, you was in a personal capacity. Do you have anything to add on the tax matter before we put you in a hot seat? Because we have been warming it for you.
Personal and professional.
Personal and professional.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I listened to the debate and also to the media about traders protesting. I want to agree with the Honorable Katu. Tax revenue tax level is really empirical. As I'm also telling people that counting people, census is empirical. We cannot run away from paying tax until when you die. That's a fact. And secondly, I also want to agree that when these bills go to Parliament, I know they have a platform where they allow people to come and participate and give their views. Now, once something has been passed into law, you have no way out. Maybe the regulations setting the implementation procedures as Honorable Robert said. And also, I have failed to understand why if this is an issue. I failed to understand. There was another innovation in Parliament approved, I think it was that.
Yes.
Which had been actually initially requested for by manufacturers. They used to say that time that the importers are bringing cheap and counterfeit goods, which are under, which is making them fail to be competitive. Now, when the Victor stamp came and it was catching those who were manufacturing and loading excess, they revolted. The same applied when the government imposed 10% on importation of crude oil. Remember the other one of the causes of the inflation in 2020. Because the same manufacturer that said crude oil from Malaysia and Indonesia is not crude oil.
Yes, it is semi-finished. Semi-finished.
And in fact, it was true because Malaysia banned exporting crude oil. So when Parliament added 10%, they now started. The same manufacturers. So they say,
Did you verify those IFRIS gadgets? Because there was
that's not for statistics.
Yes.
Maybe if they are saying if the gadgets are doing some fraud against them. But what I would do, advise because we are so traders, I have no trade for myself. And I have been directed to use IFRIS. And me being the senior government official, I have to comply. I don't want Ssemuju to have an opportunity to have a fiscal. They say, how you say it? So, and where are you now? I said they should engage first the Ministry of Finance, where tax policy is passed. Not even for that. Okay.
Over to you.
I responded to yes, other than the launch, what about I don't agree with that. For example, yesterday when I went to media, all I went to the military, we have already assembled the media activities. So today, according to the facts, the information is by foreign institution of the and this one representatives using the code. So I don't
but because many of them are related to Mr. Museveni, he sat down and asked finance suspended. These guys are based on good implementation suspended. It has been done in the law that just going to tax bills. The VAT, not sure it was getting income tax. Aga Khan Jagari wants to continue tax exemption. And I told Parliament, it's ridiculous. In the VAT, the amendment that has been made, government intends to collect 74 billion using that bill that they brought Parliament. In income tax amendment, they exempt the Aga Khan 74 billion. So in one tax, you're imposing the tax on citizens. In another law, you're exempting one person from the exempt tax. So Museveni is the law, absolutely it is. I mean, the MPs might be doing this, but I'm saying they should be the way them and not them to say what I'm saying. The same opinions you do, the same ones that say this fellowship is investigation. Now saying this can get out of the court.
I think that's why if I understood it's like people who have speech including when the president is different. For example, the point one also that's given. We said no, but it can come from government that's a bit exempt. But I can't benefit to accept this is over 500 perpetual exemption of tax. So we said no, this is enough. This time no. So then they will come back, but I expect members of Parliament to say this justification for this. So people should be able, instead of like every time saying no, the problem is on the what people the bad government, people should be able to stand up and say, sir, this is not correct. And we signed the tax administrator. They said we can't have these issues go to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance said I can't have these issues. They are policy with Parliament. Parliament said you know some of these things you're speaking to. There's no one person that is so easy. They had to suspend it for 10 minutes to look for one of the ministers who can see that. So, and from that 17, the minister said some of these things after having a discussion. And he had some of the who had his interest in talking about so you will see us coming in time, and we expect to respond to some of these issues because they're very logical and from different perspectives. About engagements, I think Oscar, Parliament continuously doesn't to engage people on issues that we discuss. And I think it's about issues, something but what we found out is that most of the things, Parliament without saying, we discuss this thing, but they should be able to process government, and those people who that have been so and they have such. You see, we will finish taxing Kati Atomera, something. So we made that
in groups like this, but I'm not what is what but is what happened.
You should do. I'm so interested because I'm the biggest stakeholder. When there's a finance committee meeting, please come and make your case publicly. The Gabonese want to make some noise.
One, we still need the so we yes, well, because you mentioned because the leaders is for the leaders. It's not we look at the informed. It's like what's the process how we get the that's not because I think it's how to how the assistant but also on the other side, we still insist that our infrastructure should be redesigned, something designed to fit the budget. How do you how do you if somebody gets extra credit and how do you get to that? Now let's start with so some of the ones should be looked into. And also the issue of personal research we also about how to utilize. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Engeri gino yo ekamusebe gavumenti ngino mugwako aluza mwakabi emisimizo kula bezira kukola nga basoza kwera byamufu tokolebwe byamanasi amasomero amalwaliro engudo ne banaso kwakulanya naloza ntajazi kwa atazigabire nga bagwira ngazijamba na Uganda te bana Uganda tazibagabira okulakulanya ngogendo kubakalumanyera era besu mu gavumenti ngegude ngaba Uganda ne bezo buyinza bwabwe president cyangwa n'ikindi nakyo kwatamu kati ne tuyagala mu Uganda babanyo muna baliko mwe baliko bako dunda ndano ngeka staff besaba nkule badanga